It all begins tonight. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Montreal Canadiens and Tampa Bay Lightning from Amalie Arena. It's Shane Kelly and Aaron Ward. I'm David Pagnotta. Our coverage brought to you by Bitbuy, Canada's #1 cryptocurrency platform. And gentlemen, there's two obvious storylines going into this final: the goaltending battle and the special teams. Wardo, I'll let you pick which way you want to start.
Well, I'll go with goaltending battle. I don't think we have to say much about Carey Price at this stage. He's gotten to the point of the Stanley Cup Finals, and everybody's talked about, I think everybody's talked about, the fact that he's a leading Conn Smythe Trophy candidate. For Montreal, from a mental perspective, I think they have to get ready for something different. They really haven't been approached with this type of goaltending, who's consistently gone through with Vasilevsky being great for Tampa, right? So start out with Campbell. It's pretty good, not great. Hellebuyck, same thing with Winnipeg. I think a lot was made of the fact that they beat Edmonton, but Edmonton wasn't particularly good. And when Montreal played Winnipeg, Hellebuyck kept Winnipeg into it, but wasn't particularly great. And then they had the kind of, I guess we'd call it a circus with the Vegas goaltending. Lehner to Fleury back to Lehner, and continuing on. So knowing what your opponent is, what your hurdle is, and Vasilevsky for Montreal is what they have to focus on. And I would say they have to pay particular attention. If you witness what happened in the Islanders series, Vasilevsky's never out of a play, almost Hasek-like, of being able to recover, a bigger goalie. So it's a greater challenge to put that puck in the net.
To me, Vasilevsky's actually been one of the kind of unsung heroes of this postseason, or story we haven't really paid enough attention to. If you look at the more advanced numbers, Carey Price has been on an incredible run, and I don't want to take anything away from him, but in goals saved above expected, in expected save percentage, he's number 2 in both categories. And who's number 1? Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky's saving about a goal more than the average goalie would per game in these playoffs. Carey Price is at about 0.7. So, both have been incredibly good, but I think you hit it, Wardo. This is the first time that the Canadiens are going to be facing a goalie that's, as good, if not slightly better, than Carey Price has been all playoffs. And that's going to be a challenge for a team that at times can struggle to create offense.
I agree on that point, actually, because if you think about it, we're so enamored by Carey Price because he had such a challenging regular season. And then now we have Carey Price, all-star. Vasilevsky having won a Stanley Cup last year, it's kind of ho-hum we expected. So when we transition out of goalies, and I'll go to the next topic of special teams, Montreal's been absolutely lights out in the penalty kill. 93.5%. That's an unheard of stat in the playoffs. So Montreal can find some level of confidence, knowing that they can give up some undisciplined penalties, playing a very up and down team in terms of speed and skill, and recover from it. Tampa having a 37.7% success rate in the power play says a lot for them in terms of the ability. That's almost 40%. That's unheard of also. So again, special teams have played such a key component for this. It'll be interesting to see if Montreal plays with the same type of aggression as they had in the past 3 series towards creating offense on that penalty kill. Are those guys going to take any type of chance against a very potent team that's proven themselves to be consistently successful through the playoffs?
The Kucherov injury to me really throws this question for a loop, because he's got something like 12 or 13 power play points in these playoffs. He's been the primary initiator off the half wall for Tampa. And if he looks like he did in Game 7, I just don't know that he can be effective enough to go against this Montreal penalty kill, which has been incredible, as you said, Aaron. The other thing to ask in this scenario is, if he can't play, who do they bring in on the first unit, and what is the downstream effect on the second unit? To me, Kucherov has been arguably their best player on the power play, and to miss a guy like that going up against this penalty kill, I think Tampa loses one of their primary methods of driving offense if he is not the Kucherov that we know he can be.
I would say that the side note too, so we step away, one of the topics we didn't mention was the situation with Yoel Armia. If my team's gone to the extent of flying in on a private plane to circumvent the pandemic issues and make you eligible to play, and given the fact that through my past experience as a player and obviously my vast coaching experience in the National Hockey League, it would tell me that if you're bringing this player in, you're going to do everything you possibly can to get him to play. So the fact that his feet are on the ground in Tampa would tell me that they're going to do everything to put him back with his line of Stahl and Perry, because that, for the Montreal Canadiens, is a catalyst of confidence when they start to possess the puck down low for everybody else to go forward and play the type of game they played in the past 3 series. So I would count on Evans unless Montreal is lying to us about exactly what the reason why Armia stayed back in Montreal was. And given the fact that it seems like it's COVID and he's cleared because they wouldn't allow him in the States, I'd expect him on that line.
So with him likely coming back, one of the areas that we need to focus on here is where are the Montreal Canadiens going to utilize their Phillip Danault unit? You know, Tampa has two first lines effectively. So is it going to be Phillip Danault, Arturi Lehkonen, and Brendan Gallagher against Point, Kucherov, Palat? Or are those guys going to be put up against Cirelli, Stamkos, and Killorn?
Well, building off what Shane just said is I think it's a wait-and-see attitude. I think your mistake would be to categorize exactly what you're going to do before the game. I think you have to see what happened with Kucherov, right? Is he going to attain the same level of minutes in a game? And I'm sure you're going to get a dose of it in the first period. You're going to see how Tampa's going to come out. So I think it'd be a read situation. And the biggest mistake would be to come in concretely with the idea of what you're going to do. You have to be able to adapt. And I think Luke Richardson, through his experience in playing in the playoffs and understanding the mentality of a player, he's one of the guys that's most recently removed, and having Burrows on the bench, these guys won't make the mistake of writing it in stone. Guys will see what Tampa brings. They have time to derive or determine what they're going to do because Carey Price should be at the top of his game right now, and they'll be conditioning that team not to sit back and wait to see what Tampa brings. And again, bring the level of confidence in the locker room. Who cares what Tampa brings, right? Underdog status. Everybody in this team, all four lines have been rolled. And Montreal needs to come into the mentality. It doesn't matter what skill set Tampa brings, what level of excitement they bring, the fact that it's going to be at home, whether Tampa has been in the Stanley Cup playoffs and the finals and won a cup, doesn't matter. Nothing you've done in the past matters in the present.
To me, Danault's deployment is going to really depend on what Tampa decides to do with Kucherov. If he's limited and can only play in certain situations, it makes more sense in my eyes to deploy him as much as they can on the power play because that's where he's generating most of his offense. If he can go a little bit more or they try to play him more at 5-on-5, maybe you get Danault's line in there against them. But it really comes down to the injury situation because Danault's line has arguably been one of the most dominant in these playoffs. I know they haven't scored an absolute ton, but they've dominated the expected goals battle to the tune of 57%. And they've also been one of the few Montreal lines that has kept the possession numbers about even. I think they're at 49.5 to 50.5. So, this is kind of Montreal's ace in the hole. And a lot of the series come down to the question of who does he play against.
Well, we'll see how some of these storylines play out. I'm sure the feeling out process will be an interesting one. In this one, these two teams haven't seen each other in over a year. So we'll see how things go in game one between the Habs and the Bolts. That's Aaron Ward and Shane Kelly. I'm David Pagnotta. We'll catch you after the game.